Of all the superstars we may have on offense, perhaps none are bigger than the guy that wears number 3. What's in store for Hollywood in Rollywood?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is about to begin this week, so head on over to the FanDuel app today and start finishing off your futures bets. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Happy Monday to all. It's officially game week to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. We kicked this thing off on Thursday, merely just 4, I guess technically 3 now, 3 more days away. I'm tired of talking. I'm ready to hit some people. Not me, but the guys on the field in the red and white. Okay, we're going to continue some of our Impact series. We've saved on purpose some of the best for last. Today we're talking Hollywood Smothers. Hollywood Smothers was one of the most electrifying players we had on basically either side of the ball last season in 2024. And lining up this year in 25, he might be on deck for a monster year.
I couldn't agree with you more. This guy, I'm going to tell you what, we saw him come on more and more as the year progressed, and it became clear, we said from game one, he was your most explosive running back, but it became clear because there's a difference. There's a delineation between most explosive and best, because you can be the most explosive, but if you've got fumbling problems, does that really matter? Or you can be the most explosive, but if you're wildly inconsistent in your ability to see the holes and make things happen and, show that burst through the holes. If you're only good in certain situations, like we get it to you in open field and you make something happen, but in terms of running between the tackles, that's a problem. You're not the guy. Hollywood showed us at a high level he was the best at virtually everything last year in terms of the running backs that we had playing. So you talk about a guy that is phenomenal, that showed us everything that we could have wanted out of a back last year. The only thing that held him back was a lack of being used. And I get it. There was times where he was pushing through some injuries, and you could see at times where he was, however, that was fairly rare when he was actually on the field. So, I'm expecting big things out of Hollywood this year. Like I've said multiple times, I am pulling up to the Carter, bumping that Sosa Vandross.
Got to have that Sosa Vandross ready at all times. Of course, that's his rap name for those unfamiliar. I think I said on here last week, I went back and listened to some of the post-game recaps from last season, and 2 of us were very adamant that he is the best running back, and that was night 1. Game 1 last year, we already knew. And what played out the rest of the season, it only reconfirmed that. But I do want to talk about what Kenton mentioned there. The only thing that really held him back was the usage. And what immediately comes to mind is not even playing the third quarter of the Military Bowl after slicing and dicing ECU in the first half. It was so ridiculously frustrating that we couldn't find this guy more touches, because it felt like every time he had a touch, it was going for a first down, maybe an explosive play. And in some rare cases, he just took it the rest of the way himself and found the end zone. For this season in 2025, I know I've talked a lot about the offensive line and the team will go as they do. What that feels like when I say that is I'm referring to CJ Bailey in the passing game, but possibly even more important is how that affects Hollywood Smothers on the ground. If you can open up big lanes, Hollywood Smothers is the perfect running back. He's going to be the guy that takes advantage of that. He's going to be the guy that exploits, whether it's ECU or Virginia Tech or the Dirty Foot Club at the end of the season. That's who you want to be toting the rock. That's the guy you want to be running back 1. That's the guy you want to be your bell cow. Here in 25, he is. He is a clear-cut RB1. But Hollywood Smothers seeing a massive uptick in touches this year, it's only going to continue to benefit the offense.
Yeah, and in terms of what we saw from Hollywood Smothers, you talk about the bowl game and all that. If I told you that there was a guy who only had 17 touches, and in those 17 touches went for 181 yards, I don't think if you had one player with 17 touches, averaging 10 yards per touch, and I were to tell you that same offense scored 21 points, would you believe me, Grayson?
I would not.
Well, we had it happen.
Yeah.
We had it happen, And so it's again, it's one of those moments that I just look at with so much disappointment for so many reasons, because the bowl game was an amalgamation of all the problems that we had seen all season coming to rear their heads. In terms of the lack of ability to fill holes from our linebacking core. If you think I'm lying, how do you think their running backs went off for 220? I'm sorry, their running back and quarterback combined for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground on 30 carries, one of those being an 86-yarder. How do you think that happens? Oh, okay. We talk about what was virtually coaching malpractice offensively. Well, let's talk about it, shall we? We didn't even have Kevin Concepcion to throw to. We didn't even have, hey, we're going to throw this guy 5, 6, 7 bubble screens. How many touches do you think Justin Jolie had?
4, maybe?
3.
Okay, great.
I mean, at a point, it really gets to a point where you're saying, if you have a bell cow, feed them. If you have a bell cow, run them, roll them, do whatever you got to do. I can understand if your bell cow is out wide at receiver and they're just getting locked up. They're just getting clamped, or your quarterback is just throwing a terrible ball game. That's not what happened to any degree here. It's just we went away from who brought us to the dance, and all of a sudden we're sitting here wondering why we don't know how to do the waltz with anybody else. The folks who brought you to the dance, they bought you. They're the people who know how you like to do this thing, and yet we walked away from them at very crucial junctures in the game, and we were never able to recapture some of that momentum, which is why East Carolina ended up pulling away down the stretch. This is a game where we secured the lead late, where we could have put this thing away late. But what happened, ultimately, we could not get the stops that we needed to get and all that good stuff. So Hollywood Smothers being a guy that is not going away from, that's going to be vital here.
Sticking on that same note, last season, Jordan Waters and Kendrick Raphael combined for 173 carries. This is something alarming, and I don't even know if I paid attention to this that closely. CJ Bailey had 99 carries. That can't happen again this year. Hollywood Smothers last season, 89 carries for 571 on the ground, 6 rushing touchdowns, and then you also factor in 19 catches for 263 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. So certainly you could see where you predict massive upticks in carries, rushing yards, probably rushing touchdowns, maybe even receptions and receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. Like, this has to be one of the main fixtures of your offense. Justin Jolie, Hollywood Smothers, and whoever your best wide receiver is, those 3 guys have to be able to carry you to wins. You have to be able to win games with your best players. Hollywood Smothers, undoubtedly, every single day of the week and twice on Sunday, he is one of your best players. Now, on the other note, Kenton, I want to talk about, where do you see maybe potential struggles for Hollywood Smothers this season? Hopefully not usage.
Well, I was just about to say that. We saw it last year. The best way to stop Hollywood Smothers, there was not a single defense that could have been schemed better than, with all due respect, the last offensive coordinator. That was the best defense for the young man. It was the don't give him the ball, take him out the game defense. That's it. We did this earlier in the offseason where we talked about all Wolfpack, all conference, all American. And there's a reason why, despite there being fantastic backs all throughout this country, I believe that Hollywood Smothers is closer to all American than anything else, because that young man is phenomenal. The offensive line in front of him, damn good. That is a group that now has depth like we haven't seen, to where if 1 or 2 guys were to go down, we're not sitting here saying, oh boy, we are cooked. We are so done up front. So I sit before you all saying very simply, this is a situation where, to me, the only things that can stop Hollywood Smothers are things outside of his control. It's obviously injuries can stop any player, and not getting the ball. That's it.
My other point, I think I mentioned this last week, is potentially like wear and tear. Hollywood Smothers now being the bell cow running back, will he be able to carry the ball maybe 30 times a game? I think he can, but maybe 30 times a game, every game, what does that look like? The wear and tear of running backs obviously is something that's no stranger to us in particular, or any other team around the country. So we're going to have a very healthy Hollywood Smothers, because Duke Scott seems like an exciting guy behind him, but the two of them, that's where you can get a little dangerous. If you have to rely on only one or only the other, you can get spread a little thin. So my biggest concern is the O-line being effective and, of course, keeping Hollywood as healthy as humanly possible. Now, for the over-under, we crafted this one a little bit differently because he is so versatile and because he can attack defenses in so many different ways. We have both rushing and receiving for Hollywood. We just combine them into total yards, and we set that at 999.5. So 1,000 total yards. Here's another quick note. Last season, he combined rushing and receiving yards 834. And also, that's with us feeling like we barely even used the guy. 834. 999.5 in 2025, Kenton. Can he do it?
He is absolutely going over 1,000 yards if he is healthy. Let me explain this to you very simply, Grayson. I want you to estimate the total amount of touches you think he got last year.
Total touches is probably close to around 100.
You're very correct. The exact number is 108.
There you go.
108 touches, right? Now, you divide that by 13 games, Grayson. What does that number look like?
108 divided by 13 is something close to 8-ish,
Yes.
8 or 9.
Exactly. It's a little over 8.
Yeah.
It's a little over 8. If you were at 9, you would be looking at 117. I am telling you right now, Grayson, if this young man only touches the ball 9 times a game this year, 8 to 9 times a game this year, either Duke Scott is on his way to winning a Heisman, or there are a lot of coaches who apparently think that unemployment in North Carolina is going to pay out big time. That's the only alternative. They don't like contributing to the taxes. They want to pull a little something out for once, because this young man, it is hard to imagine that your best back, even if he is hurt for, 2, 3, what was it? 3 games where he was hurt or so?
It was like 2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3. We'll be aggressive and say 3. If we take away those 3 games, that is then 10 games. 108 touches over 10 games is about 11 per game. I think he needs to be at least 15. At least 15. To me, that is the number where I would say I'm happy with his usage at 15 a game. You know why? He averaged 6.4 yards per carry. 6.4 yards per carry. You give him 15 touches a game, and that's not even talking about the fact that he averaged nearly 14 yards per reception. If you give this man 15 touches per game, you are looking at well over a 100-yard contributor every single game.
Yeah.
Every single game. And mind you, that is insisting that he will not get better, nor will the offensive line, just that he does exactly what he did last year. You've got to get this young man the ball. To me, the ideal number I would look at, 12 to 15 a game. 12 to 15 a game is probably where I would say that would be ideal for me. At max, 15 to 20. I wouldn't want to see him do 30 touches a game. I think that's a little too much. But I would say 15 to 20 a game, you can't ask for more. That would be the upper limits. And if he puts on the show that he put on last year at that clip, he's blowing this out of the water. Again, 834 yards on barely over 100 touches, a hair over 100 touches. That, to me, spells out an easy 1,000-yard guy.
Yeah, sitting here listening to you crunch the numbers, I feel like our number is substantially lower than it should be. It might have to be like 1,200, because to your point, if he's touching the ball less than 8 times a game, well, that's simply not going to happen this year. He's more than likely going to touch the ball 15 plus times a game. Even that might be low, to be quite honest with you. So I have him blowing past this mark of total yards over 1,000. Plus, he might just hit that with rushing yards only, which is obviously something we're all hoping for. We have not had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2018. That was Mr. Reggie Gillespie back then. So we're looking forward to having an explosive running back in the backfield yet again. Hollywood Smothers, look no further than this guy. He is the man for the job.
And again, the only thing I can see stopping him is a lack of usage. But one of the things I did note is if Duke Scott has one of those years where you're like, oh my God, this kid burst out on the scene and he's going to be a problem for years to come, because then you could look up and see the carry split in a way that it's like, this is a true 50-50, which is why I don't believe Bam Knight or Ricky Persons ever got to 1,000 individually, because because both of them were so, they took so many carries each. That it was like, hey, neither one is going to get to 1,000, but they're both very quality backs.
Which is funny, too, because I remember being upset about how even it was. I thought one deserved a little more than the other, but I'll leave that there for now. So Hollywood Smothers is on deck for a massive, massive year for NC State football. Let us know in the comments if you think he's going over 1,000 total yards. Coming up next, we're getting into Dave Dorn not releasing a depth chart on Friday, perhaps a little bit of cat and mouse. We'll talk more about this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is Rugiet. What's up, fellas? You guys have probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, or maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to get Rugiet ready. Rugiet is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike usual pills that can take up to hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in under 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head on over to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. We have an important request for our listeners. Locked On wants to hear from y'all. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is the chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to LockedOnPodcast.com/survey in order to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's LockedOnPodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in our show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Middle portion of our Monday show. As previously stated, it is officially game week here on Monday. NC State will host the ECU Pirates on Thursday night. Opening game of the 2025 season will be a 7 p.m. kick. Kenton, we were expecting to see a week one depth chart released by Dave Dorn and NC State football on Friday. Did not happen, although it doesn't really come as a surprise. ECU has also not released a week one depth chart. So in my mind, it feels like a game of cat and mouse here, which is not something that's abnormal. Some of these college coaches often rely a little bit too heavily on trying to keep a competitive advantage. Dave Dorn obviously has been one of those for several years at NC State. He's committed to the bit, which in some aspects I can respect, but no depth chart ahead of this game, Kenton. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, it's the ultimate Dave Dorn slight gamesmanship type of deal. I don't really have an opinion about it one way or the other. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's just Dave Dorn being Dave Dorn. Not much of a surprise here. It's a lot like when the injury thing came out where they said you had to tell players who had injuries and all that, and he was up in arms about it. And I'm like, yeah, it's very Dave Dorn. It's just who he is and how he is as a coach, and it's not an indictment of him, not anything terrible. It's just kind of who he is. He always plays it very close to the chest in terms of the information that he's going to release to the public if he doesn't have to. So this isn't a shocker to me.
Of course, there was also no injury updates, which, I don't know, maybe there's been word about something going on there, but Dave Dorn said that he will also not release injury reports until Wednesday ahead of every ACC game this season. That is part of what Kenton was just talking about, that are required for coaches to put out the couple days leading up into your weekend game. So there's no injury report, no depth chart. I spoke a little bit about this with Mike Jones last week, but talk to me about some of the most intriguing position battles that you're still waiting to see how the dust settles.
I'm still waiting to see what this scheme looks like in terms of how many players are listed as starters at what positions. But even beyond that, I'm looking at the safety positions. We've got a lot of guys who we've heard very positive things about, but it's not really set in stone like, hey, we've heard great things about this guy and he's going to be the starter. You get what I'm saying? Like when we saw the exits that we saw at the tail end of last year, it leaves a lot of ambiguity for who's going to be your guy. Do you go with the more veteran and experienced players who may not have played any Power 4 football last year? Or do you go with some young upstart guys like Ronnie Royal and company? It's kind of that balance and that dynamic of who fits in where. And I'm very excited to see what that rotation looks like as well, depending on who wins, or not depending on who wins, regardless of who wins. I'm excited to see what that rotation looks like.
And I think the secondary at this point in time, it kind of still has the most question marks. On the offensive line, pretty much safe to say that Jalen Grant's going to be the starter at center. Sounds like Kamen Smith's going to be the starter at right guard, and obviously about the other three, we already know. The linebacking core, you know about Fordham, you know about Sean Brown. Apparently, A.J. Richardson has had an extremely strong fall, and I believe Kenny Soares from Northwestern, he was a transfer. You're going to see different rotations of linebackers throughout the season, but those appear to be the main four in that room. So that leaves the secondary. Does that mean we're going to see Ronnie Royal start? What does that mean for Jackson Vick? I heard Dave Dorn speak about Jackson Vick, saying that he is moving to nickel. Does that mean he's the starting nickel? We don't quite know yet. Yeah, that secondary, I think, has the most intrigue at this point in time. It's going to be important because ECU, like we've already mentioned, the wide receiving room, that's their strength. If they can blow by our secondary the whole night, we got problems already in week one. The secondary will most certainly have to pull some weight this year because it feels like we might be okay in the other two levels.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And at the end of the day, I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying to myself, the position group that we were most worried about was the secondary and the kind of edge rushing group there. I'm excited to see how both pan out and fare in game one. Obviously, when you've got a burner like Anthony Smith, a guy that I was super high on while he was at NC State, a guy that I just knew was going to do great things in the state of North Carolina. Little did I know it would be in Greenville, but a guy that I knew was going to do great things because he was a speedster who loved to compete. I am very intrigued to see how you stop a guy like that at a high clip because, again, he's shown the propensity to take over some games. And then on the edge rushing side of things, that realistically, if you cannot get that done, you are going to have a harder time covering those receivers. If you have DBs that are a bit of a question mark, the easiest thing you can do for them is make their jobs easier. You make their jobs easier by getting to the quarterback, by them knowing, oh, I can jump most things because at the end of the day, he's not going to have time to sit back there, make a sandwich, look around, read the encyclopedia, and then hit somebody deep.
Certainly appears that the secondary will be fascinating once we roll out there on the field, 7 p.m. on Thursday evening. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Monday show with Mailbag Monday, answering some of the top questions at the end of last week. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. August the 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and postseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling for your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week one even kicks, this is your moment. If you're ready to crown Josh Allen back-to-back MVP, now's your time. If you're ready to give the Chiefs back their rightful kingdom, again, now's your time. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. That's August the 26th. FanDuel, play your game. Last couple minutes of our Monday show. Now time for Mailbag Monday, addressing some of our top comments from last week. Here we go. First one comes from PKC. It says, I would love to see Doran change the philosophy this year and air it out like the Texas Tech teams in the early 2000s. So, Kenton, obviously, we've talked a little bit about this over the course of the offseason and how we feel like the offense might have to do some heavy lifting for this team to experience a lot more success this season in 2025. Now that we're right up on kickoff, or just merely days away, have your thoughts changed at all about what the philosophy you expect to see is? More balanced, more air raid? How do you think this plays out?
I see more balance for this team because you have, again, two backs that are phenomenal, number one. But more important than two backs that are phenomenal, the way that you make the game easier on those receivers, the way that you get single high looks. Everybody talks about the fact that, too high is ruining football. Well, too high means run the damn ball. Too high means you have a number advantage in the box. So I wouldn't be opposed to passing the ball to set up the run. I'm fine with that. But I would not like to see full-on airing it out because while we do have an extremely deep and talented wide receiver room, I do not under any circumstances want to neglect the likes of a Hollywood Smothers or of a Duke Scott.
For me, the biggest thing I want to see is I want to see us be extremely unpredictable because last year we saw bubble screen after bubble screen. Oh, who's he gonna throw it to? I bet it's KC. Yep, it's KC. Oh, now it's picked off. We cannot afford to have as many weapons as we do and not spread them out and use them accordingly. I do expect this will be a balanced attack. Everything I've heard about the O-line feels like they're ready to open up some massive gaping lanes for Hollywood Smothers to prance through. And when you have a guy like Hollywood Smothers, you're in great shape to be able to control the game on the ground. But then, of course, you think about Justin Jolie. You think about Noah Rogers. You think about Wesley Grimes. There's so many different ways that you can hurt a defense that you feel like it should be balanced. You shouldn't have to lean on one or the other too much. And I think that's where NC State should sit this year. And for Kurt Roper, again, we've said this a million times in the offseason, just get out of the way and let your guys be your guys. Let your stars be your stars. You have these guys that are so explosive for a reason. If you just get them the ball, the rest should play out in a favorable way for the red and white. So certainly do expect it to be balanced, but I don't really care what the scheme is as long as we're putting points on the scoreboard. Second one comes from DVLNCHNC. Says 2 linebackers as captains, returning quarterback, no expectations. Am I sensing a blown fourth quarter lead in week 9 or 10 that keeps us out of the ACC championship? I don't mean to laugh, but like, it feels a little spot on, does it not?
In the words of the late, great Michael Clark Duncan, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. We've been there. We've done that. This team has to be new. I get it. Doran's the same. Doran is the same head coach from last year, but I would hope that he has grown and changed. I would hope that this team has grown and changed and that we are not going to be a blown week 9 or 10 lead away from the ACC championship game. But I'll also say a blown week 9 or 10 lead that keeps us out of the ACC championship game, that sounds like a pretty good year. Obviously you don't want to blow this lead that keeps you out, but knocking right on that door, you've got to feel kind of good about that.
That scenario sounds like 9 wins. That's exactly what we had in 2023. It was 1 loss that ended up keeping us out of Charlotte. I think we would all take 9-3. Don't get me wrong, because the expectations are, 8-4 would be a good year. 9-3 would be a great year. Anything other than that would be a bonus. But for this comment in particular, I'm very interested to see what are going to be the big moments where we find out what this team is. Because last year we could kind of get some senses about what they would be in game 1. And that was the Western game. It's like, well, we were expecting a lot more than this. Should we be worried? Because we have Tennessee next week. And then Tennessee came out and looked like the Monstars on the football field, 51-10. It's like, oh God, what have we done? This is not going to be anything close to what we thought it was. So, but then later on, you found like a comeback win at Cal, and you probably should have won at Georgia Tech, and you could kind of see like the attitude and the temperament of the team. I want to know what that's going to look like this year. Like maybe you are down on the road in the fourth quarter by just a touchdown, and CJ Bailey leads a legacy drive, and you come back and win. I want to see what this team is made of in those moments of make or break. Now, of course, we don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe it is game 1 against ECU. I certainly hope not, but I just want to see more growth from last year and learning from mistakes, correcting those mistakes, and hopefully that leads to more wins. Last one here comes from Jeff Collins, and it's so key that I even included my own response. Jeff says State's tight end is the key, particularly in the first game. My answer to that was in every single game after that one, too. Kenton, what is Justin Jolie's impact you're projecting on this ECU game?
Listen, if he's the key that's going to open every lock. He's the key that's going to open every door. He's the key that is going to get you wherever you got to go, because the young man is fantastic. He's a fantastic player. At the end of the day, if we look back at this season and we can say similar things that we did to last season, like, oh, he never had a 100-yard game, we have failed him as a team, as a unit. And I know he's not the type of guy to come out and say, oh, stats are important to me and all that good stuff. The stats aren't important to me either. But you know what it is? Winning. And you know what helps winning? Letting your stars be stars. Okay? If you watch the documentary about the Dallas Cowboys that just came out, that was one of the things that Jimmy Johnson said in describing a game where the Cowboys got the mess beat out of them. He said, well, they came out, played a great game, but their stars were stars. And let me tell you something. Justin Jolie, if we're talking stars, supernova. Okay?
Right.
The young man is burning bright and beautifully in the night sky, and we need to find him as much and as often as we can because, again, he is nightmare fuel for defensive coordinators. The young man's nickname is the Boogeyman. Anytime that somebody is nicknamed after a creature that gives mythological levels of horror, you should probably be finding ways to let that young man have an impact. And if you dictate how often he gets the ball, it needs to be quite frequently. So I agree with both Jeff and you that he is the key to this game in particular and every game after this one.
We're talking about a tight end that's essentially in like the 99th percentile in contested catches and broken tackles. Like this guy feels like he has the superstar if you're playing Mario. He's a freak. NC State can't afford to not use that every single possible way they can this year. And this is a guy that should spearhead the offense. He should, in all honesty, he should have the most receptions on the team and the most receiving yards, hopefully the most touchdowns too. But the way that he can completely pick apart a defense, it opens everything up for all your other stars too, like a Hollywood Smothers, like a Wesley Grimes, like a Noah Rogers. Like if you can create the true situation where it is pick your poison on defense, you have no idea if you're supposed to hone in on Jolie or Rogers. That is where NC State can pick apart any single team they play. That's not exaggeration. They can go on the road and beat Miami if their offense can click on cylinders like that one. So Justin Jolie is a vital, pivotal, whatever other word you want to fill in the blank with. He should be the spearhead of this offense, and he will be important, not just in game one, but every single game after that one too.
At the end of the day, Justin Jolie, to me, I want him used like we used to use J. Sam. I want him used in that way. Line him up everywhere. Find ways to get him the ball, okay? Find ways that, the defenses are double teaming him. You know how you can still guarantee you getting the ball? Hey, we're going to run inside zone right. Put Jolie at running back. Just try it. Because that's becoming the norm now. Tyler Warren last year was taking wildcat snaps at quarterback up at Penn State. That's what the norm is now. You know what the norm is? Offensive coordinators saying, hey, we got this bad dude right here. Let's just get him the ball, however. We're not going to structure it so that in certain situations when things work out. No. We're going to make sure he gets the ball and make the defense have to stop him. And if you want to look at a lesser version, a poor man's version of that, Valari up at Syracuse. Look at how many ways they use him. So to me, if you are not getting Justin Jolie at least 6 to 7 touches a game, at least 7 to 8 targets and total touches combined a game, we're doing him and Wolfpack Nation a grave disservice.
I think it should never be anything less than 6. If you can't get him more than 6 carries, again, you're selling yourself short. And I'm glad you brought up him running the ball. I have been quietly manifesting a Justin Jolie rushing touchdown this year. You don't believe me now? I think it might happen, but we'll have to see. That will do it for us here on Monday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on Hollywood Smothers and hopefully the monster season he's about to have as RB1 for the NC State Wolfpack. Give us your thoughts on Dave Dorn not releasing a depth chart and maybe some more roster-related questions you still have before we kick this thing off on Thursday. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the box as well. Mash that subscribe button. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Tuesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.